Hey there, wild ones, welcome to my channel. Today I want to take you on a little tour of my Wild Witches Apothecary. I'm taking part in a new tag called #ShowAndSpell, which was started by my lovely friend Cara over at Pagan Crafting. She's curated 13 questions for all of us here in the magical and witchy YouTube community to answer all about our apothecaries. And what I really love about Cara's tag is she's not just prompting us to do a simple apothecary tour. She's inviting us to share the stories behind our spell ingredients, witchy supplies, magical items, plant spirit allies, all the like, everything that comes along with an apothecary. And if you want to jump in on the tag, don't forget to use the hashtag in your video. That way it can be easily found through YouTube and everyone can find your video. I don't know about you, but I love me a good apothecary tour. It's really interesting to get a glimpse into different magical practitioners' apothecaries because no one's practice is the same and no one's apothecary is exactly the same either. I feel personally that our apothecaries are a unique extension of our practices, right? Because they house all of our magical tools. And if you haven't already, go on over and check out Cara's original video for this tag. She has an absolutely beautiful apothecary, and I've been keeping an eye out for video responses for this. Like, I check like every other day, and I recently saw one from Aurora over at Lavender Hazelwood, and she shared her wonderful apothecary as well, and she went into the etymology of the word apothecary, Okay, can I say it now? Apothecary. There we go, yay! Anyway, with all seriousness, Aurora was saying that one of the meanings for that word, apothecary, is storehouse. So I'm really excited to show you my modern witch's storehouse or wild witch apothecary. And thank you so much, Cara, for tagging me. Without any further ado, settle in, cozy up, and let's get into it.
Origins of the collection. What inspired you to start collecting apothecary items, and how did you begin your collection?
It all began when I was a beginner witch, just starting out on my magical practice, and I would start building up my apothecary by waiting till everyone was asleep, going into the kitchen, and slowly sneaking away my mom's herbs and spices from her spice rack and cabinet, and she would never know where they went, but I had them. I was hiding them in my room, hoarding them like a dragon. So I remember really vividly, like a soy sauce bottle, which I still have. I would keep my moon water in there, and a horseradish jar, which I don't even know what I use that for anymore. It's a mystery now, but that's how it all started for me. And since then, after being with my hubby, it's really expanded. For the simplicity of today's video, we're just going to focus on what's behind me. This is my main apothecary center. And I have like bits and pieces sprinkled all throughout my house, so it's going to be easier to keep it centered and focused here.
Storage. What do you use, and any special significance behind your choices?
When it comes to storage, I try to opt for natural vessels when possible, so things like glass jars, glass bottles, ceramic. And I try to avoid plastic, but for me it's not 100% unavoidable because some of my resins are in the original packaging, because anytime I put resin in glass, it will like give it micro scratches, and it's really hard to clean out that residue. So I do keep my resins in there, and same with my powders. So like my sandalwood, guar gum, gum arabic, malco powder, things like that, they do stay in the bags. If it's in like a really tall jar or something, it's really hard to get out the remnants, and I want to use it all and make use of everything. That way I'm like not being as wasteful. So yeah, that's how I store things at the moment. So if you have any tips for me, please let me know.
Labeling. What do you use as your labels? And what is your process in labeling? What do you write on your labels?
I custom make them in Canva. I'm a legally blind witch, and being able to make my own labels helps me to accommodate my practice. I don't want to have to like struggle to see a label. I want to see it without too much eye strain. So I have to keep the text very simplistic, very crisp and clear, and a large text so that way I can see it more easily. My labels might not be the most aesthetically pleasing thing out there, but the important thing is it works for me, and that's what matters. Like, I'm not out there to please anyone. I'm out there to make my practice functional. So I do try to make it pretty. I have a really like aged parchment papery background, and I try to include a graphic of the botanical when possible. I am limited to what Canva has to offer. Sometimes I feel like the graphics don't 100% match up, but I do my best. I'll quickly walk you through the information that I have on my labels. We'll take wormwood for an example. I like to have the common name, wormwood, and then the Latin botanical name, which is Artemisia absinthium. I almost forgot. So below that, I like to have the gender correspondence, the elemental correspondence, and the planetary association. That's just what works for me personally. And then below that, I have the magical properties, and I just stick to the ones that are out of Scott Cunningham's Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs. I do have a detailed herbal grimoire for my personal herbs that I use in my practice. In there, I have like my personal gnosis, so what I personally associate the herb for magically. I have the medicinal properties, how to use the herb magically, how to use it medicinally, and I'm slowly working on building up my grimoire. It's taking me a bit of time, but I hope to show it to you someday. And some ideas for other things that you can have on your label is you can have the astrological sign, so like the zodiac correspondence, as well as the chakra. I do have the zodiac in my grimoire, but I don't have the chakra. For me, that's like intuitive. So yeah, those are my labels.
Favorite items. Can you show us your favorite item from your collection and explain why it holds special significance to you?
I'm sorry, I cannot pick a favorite. For me, that's like choosing a favorite child. I can't do it. Anyway, instead, let's do some of my current favorites. I do work with like the seasonal shift, the cycles of nature and of the land, and the Sabbath influence, and currently we're heading into Mabon, so I will share with you some of my favorite go-to Mabon botanicals and things like that. I do love apples this time of year. It's very significant to Mabon, and it's a very magical fruit. So you cut it horizontally and it reveals the pentagram, the star inside, and I love incorporating that into my spell work. Another big one for me this time of year is oranges. I really find that I gravitate towards orange for its happy, joyful, and uplifting energy. That's something I really need during the darker half of the year. And I also love incorporating warm spices into my practice, so things like cinnamon, cloves, allspice, and cardamom. Ooh, and vanilla, yes. Okay, I really need to stop myself there, or I'll just keep going, so moving on.
Historical significance. What are some of the most historically significant pieces in your collection? And can you share any interesting stories behind them?
I feel like a lot of the items that I do work with are steeped in a rich history and have some folklore behind it, some of which, you know, the history and folklore is newer than others. It's all situational, so like I feel like they all have a general sort of history, but I want to share something that has more personal history with me. And what I want to show you is Luna's fur. So Luna was my tricolor Pembroke Welsh Corgi. She was our first pup, and she was my magical girl. She was always wanting to be involved in anything I was doing magically. Like anytime I was doing something, she knew she was right there, and it's really important for me for her magic to like live on through. Sorry, I'm starting to tear up here. It's really important for her to like still be a part of my magic and to live on through that. And I have her always on my altar. She will always be a part of my magic. So yeah, Luna's fur. Oh, I don't want to cry. We're gonna move on to the next one.
Spellcraft integration. How do you incorporate these apothecary items into your spellcraft? And are there any specific items that you find particularly effective?
I feel like spell ingredients are effective each in their own right, if that makes sense. I don't feel like that one is more effective than another. That's just my personal feels on that. And as far as integrating them into my practice, I feel like that's all situational. So I feel like it's based, first of all, on the intent in question. So, you know, what intention am I setting for a spell or for a ritual? So, you know, is this a love spell? Is it a prosperity, protection? I have my intention, and then I go from there on which ingredients I want to use. But like, I feel like that's really general. It could be a protection for what? Is this like a home protection? Is it personal protection? Based on that intention is what I'm gonna pick, but also I would be basing it off of what type, so the method of practice in question, right? So is this a candle spell for said intention? Is this a bath salt? Is it an aura spray, a magical spray? Is it an oil blend? Is it a charm? Is it an ingestible? Unfortunately, I don't have a definitive answer for you because, like I said, it's all situational to what I'm doing, to what the purpose is, what the outcome I want to be, the intention, the method, all of that. So I hope that makes some sort of sense. I hope I didn't add any confusion.
Rare finds. What is the rarest or most unique item in your collection, and how did you come across it?
This is an abandoned beehive that's been vacant for quite a few years. My hubby had an eye on it just to make sure that it was vacant and unoccupied, so don't worry, we didn't take the home away from anybody, but I have a few ideas on how I can work with this in my magic. I'm just waiting to decide. I guess I'll know when the time is right, but there's that. This is sand that was collected on a beach near Salem and near one of the filming locations for Hocus Pocus. It was sent to me by a former YouTuber, Raquel, over at Barefoot Taurus. I miss her. I'm really grateful that she sent this to me. It's my physical representation of remembrance and honoring the women that were wronged during the witch trials. This is just some sand that I collected at Lake Erie. We don't get to go there very often, so it's rare to come by for me. And I'm sure cicada shells aren't rare to most people, but it's rare that I actually find things out in nature. Normally my husband usually finds them for me, but I actually found this one. I'm really proud of myself. So with my limited eyesight, I usually have difficulty finding those kind of things, and cicada shells can be worked with for transformation, change, renewal, and they can also symbolize letting go and emergence.
Care and preservation. What steps do you take to preserve and care for your apothecary items, especially the more fragile or older pieces?
There's a few steps that I take for care and preservation. If it's a harvested or homegrown and foraged herb, then I dry it out before I store it, and I'll either hang dry it. I have like this keyring holder thingy that I dry my herbs out on, kind of like a dry rack. I am going to be making a DIY one here in another video, so keep an eye out for that. If my herb rack is full, then I pop the rest in the dehydrator. I like to also dehydrate my fruits and berries, any like more wet substances in the dehydrator as well. I always wait until my items are fully dry before I jar them because I don't want to get mold.
Future additions. Are there any specific items or types of items you are currently searching for to add to your collection?
If talk about animal parts bothers you, there's timestamps in the description, so feel free to skip to the next question. You have been warned. Pause now. So I do work with animal spirits in my practice, and I really want to explore working with their bones. For me, I would feel more deeply connected to that animal, so I want to obtain some bones and some skulls from ethically sourced places or that I can find and process myself. I do not support the harm of any animals, so that's really important to me. But I'm really curious about working with them, and it's a beautiful way to honor the spirit and life of that animal. So yeah, I want to work with the animal bones. That's what I want to bring into my apothecary.
What's the most bizarre item in your apothecary collection? How do you use it?
What's considered odd, weird, or bizarre to me might not be to you, but here's some things that you may or may not think are odd that are in my collection. I believe this is called a warted gourd. You can see it has these little bumpies all over it and they look like warts. It's really cool. So you can find these at Walmart in a pack of like 5. They come in a mesh bag, and I like to turn them into rattles. It takes a lot of time and patience though. You have to keep them in a well-ventilated area, and you have to turn them every single day for a year and throw any away that have a lot of mold on them. I lost a few because of that, but they make a really nice rattle. So the process is really satisfying in the end. I love to use this as a rattle in the fall, especially for shaking away negative energy. This idea came from Drew, from She Who Walks Between the Worlds. Drew, I miss your face. You're an inspiration. I hope you come back. So I save the ends of my incense sticks, or the incense butts, whatever you want to call them, and I save them up until Samhain, and then I release them into my ritual fire. I would rather see them go in my fire pit as opposed to in a landfill.
If you could only keep one ingredient, what would it be?
If I could only keep one item, Cara, that's a difficult question. That's a challenge. I would, you know what, it's difficult, but it's not. I would go with my Lucifer. This is my connection to my magical pepper, so this would be it. But if I were allowed to pick a botanical, like an herb, I'm gonna cheat and like also have an herbal item, I would say roses, because they are a very versatile botanical, and I'm going to keep it really general to roses because you can base the color off of your intention. So like red for lust, passion, pink, self-love, yellow, friendship, and pink is like a gentle love too. It depends. That's for me anyway. And they even have purple varieties. For me, that's like spirituality. Black roses, I know they exist. Like that's a big protector. Oh, and the rose thorns, that's another protective part of the plant. So definitely roses.
Advice for new collectors. What advice would you give to someone who is just starting their own apothecary collection?
The advice I have is for anyone of any level of practice, whether you're a beginner witch or a well-seasoned practitioner. Some of these things might be a given for someone, but not for someone else. So these are like things that I learned along the way personally, and I want to pass on. For starters, developing relationships with your plant spirit allies. I feel like this could be a whole different video on its own, so I'm going to try to keep it really brief here. Do whatever sustainable for you. Get to know the botanical or item in question. So do your research, and this could be over a period of time. Dedicate some time to it, whether it's a botanical a week, a month, a year, whatever that looks like for you. Keep it sustainable. For me personally, my magic grows more potent when I really know that plant ally. So develop a relationship with it, learning how it grows, where does it grow, and with harvesting for your apothecary, I would say learn about when to harvest, because certain times of year or certain times of day even can be harmful to the plant. You could be doing more harm than good to the plant and to the environment around it. So knowing when to harvest, how to harvest ethically and sustainably, knowing how much to take, which I would say if it's out in nature, about 1/4 of the plant, that way it can grow back. All this is very important. I definitely want to make another video about this, so keep your eye out for that. And aside from knowledge, experience. Knowledge and experience go hand in hand. Once you really get to know the plant, experiment with it and your magic. Use it in different ways. Really connect with the botanical or item. It's just time, knowledge, and practice, really.
Curious about a fellow creator's apothecary? Who would you tag in this video?
If you're here watching this video and you want to do Cara's show and spell tag, well, I want to tag you. Tag, you're it. It's your turn. So don't forget to use Cara's tag in your video, and I can't wait to see what your apothecary looks like and learn the stories behind your items. So aside from tagging anyone here who's generally watching, I'm gonna tag some specific channels as well. So, ooh, watch out, I'm gonna name drop. Here we go. So I would love to see the apothecaries of the Fairywood Witch. Absolutely love her channel and would love to get a peek into her apothecary. I also want to tag the Hearth Fairy, and we're going to tag Colette from Witch Ways. I'm also going to tag Rhiannon Harvest. I adore her and I would love to see her apothecary as well. And I want to tag one more channel, I promise, because if I don't limit myself and stop myself, we're going to be here for hours just mentioning names that I would love to see the apothecary from. That's why I was trying to keep it general. But the last channel that I'm going to tag is the Hedge Witches Hearth Homestead. Hopefully I said that all right, but you have been tagged. I would love to see everyone's apothecary, and I'm sure Cara would too. I think that's why she made this tag. We're back. My battery died, so things might look a little different, but I just wanted to quickly say thank you so much to Cara at Pagan Crafting for starting this tag. It was a blast to explore my apothecary with you and go through it. And if you like this kind of video, let me know. That way I know what to make more of in the future. It'd be really helpful. And if there's something specific that you want to see, just drop it in the comments and I'll do my best to make it happen. But until next time, friends, stay wild and whimsical.